Jai Narasimha, friends. I just finished the blockbuster trailer reaction, and then Project Shivoham got recommended with the video Where Did Narasimha Avatar Originate? I love Project Shivoham. They make amazing videos, and I just checked what videos they did over the past year, and wow. There are a couple that I'm really interested in watching. And guess who they covered? They covered Bhishma. Many of you know what that means to me. Pitama. Yeah. Anyways, let's focus here. Focus. We're here focusing on Lord Narasimha, Lord Krishna, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, another time.
This video is not about retelling the story you already know. Instead, it's about uncovering the lesser known dimensions of Narasimha Avatar. The untold origins, the forgotten lore, and the fascinating aspects that reveal why this avatar remains one of the most enigmatic and powerful symbols of Dharma. While everyone knows the main story, there are some really interesting and less known aspects about Narasimha Avatar, especially the mystery of where this divine form first appeared. And that's exactly what we'll explore in today's video. So let's get started. These are very popular lines from the Telugu Bhakti lore. Krudetu Narasimha Tretayam Raghunandanaha Dwapare Vasudeva Kalau Venkatanayakaha. It means that in Krita Yuga, it is Lord Narasimha who is primarily worshipped. In Treta Yuga, it is Lord Raghunandana or Rama. And in Dwapara Yuga, the focus is on Lord Vasudeva. And in Kali Yuga, that's currently, the presiding deity is Lord Venkateswara Swami of Tirupati. These lines essentially establish the timeline or the antiquity of Narasimha Avatar. All of us know that Narasimha Avatar happened much before Rama Avatar. It is essentially placed in the Krita Yuga. So that essentially gives us a clue that the possibilities of having physical relics of Narasimha Avatar could be relatively low. So let's get straight to the heart of the topic. Where did the Narasimha Avatar actually originate? Tradition gives us two broad narratives. One points to the ancient city of Multan in present-day Pakistan, to the northwest of India, a place that once held a powerful connection to Narasimha worship. And the other takes us deep into the southern India, where sacred sites and living traditions claim to be the very ground from which of these is true, or rather which one has stronger echoes in history, archaeology and scriptures. In this video, we'll explore both the narratives and examine the evidence that ties them to the timeless story of Narasimha Avatar. Narasimha Avatar is believed to have originated from a place once known as Moolasthana, now currently being called as Multan in present-day Pakistan. The meaning of the word Moolasthana is place of origin. Over time, the name evolved into what we now call as Multan in present-day Pakistan. According to legend, Prahlada himself built a temple, Prahladapuri, around the pillar or the stamba from which Narasimha emerged. This site was revered as the true birthplace of Narasimha Avatar. Sadly, that temple met repeated cycles of destruction, you know from whom. The structure suffered damage during colonial era conflicts and was severely neglected after the partition. In 1992, in the aftermath of the Babri Masjid's demolition in India, the Prahladapuri temple of Narasimha was destroyed once more by a mob as retaliation. But again, sticking to the topic, so this place, Moolasthan, could possibly be the origin of Narasimha. Now there is a bit of a catch here. Just because a place is called Moolasthana or Multan, one cannot automatically assume that it is the original birthplace of Narasimha Avatar. Yes, Multan in present-day Pakistan did once have famous Prahladapuri temple, built in reverence of Narasimha. Yes, Narasimha worship was very much alive there, before the temple was destroyed in history. All of that is true. But does that mean Narasimha Avatar originated there? The evidence is far thinner than it seems. Here is why. In Samba Purana, which is one of the Upapuranas and a crucial source describing the ancient geography of present-day Pakistan, the text says, Adyam sthanamidam bhanoho paschat sambhavena nirmitam, which means this is the original seat of Bhanu or the sun or the Surya. Later it was constructed by Samba. Basically, Samba is the son of Bhagwan Sri Krishna who constructs a temple in the honor of Surya in that place, Adyasthanam or Moolasthanam or Moolasthan or Multan. That's how the name evolved. So the word Adyasthanam means the first place, the original seat. Over time this was remembered as Moolasthana, which in later Prakrit and Urdu became Multan. The Samba Purana is clear This site was primarily a seat of Surya worship, not Narasimha's manifestation. So while Prahladapuri temple and the long tradition of Narasimha devotion in Multan prove the deity was worshipped there with great reverence, calling it as the original place of Narasimha simply because of the name Moolasthana does not really hold up the scriptural evidence. What it does show us, however, is the deep antiquity and reach of Narasimha worship across Bharat, extending as far as Multan itself. Now let us turn to the second narrative about the origin of Narasimha Avatar. It is to the southern part of India. And the place we arrive at is none other than Ahobilam in the present-day Andhra Pradesh. Before we get into its details, it is important to pause and recognize a painful truth about our history. The northern part of India bore the brunt of repeated invasions, and with it, the destruction of many of our sacred sites. In a way, the temples of the south, places like Tirupati, Srirangam and countless others survived because of the north that absorbed the heaviest blows of the invasions. And so, what we see preserved in south is not just survival but continuity, living traditions carried forward for centuries. And nowhere is this more striking than in the worship of Narasimha. Believe it or not, across the entire Indian subcontinent, more than 90, even 95% of Narasimha shrines are found in just two states, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. This alone tells us how deeply the devotion of Narasimha has been safeguarded in this part of Bharat. Which brings us to Ahobilam, revered in scripture, celebrated in tradition and held by many as the very spot where the Lord burst forth from the pillar to protect Prahlada. Aho Viryam, Aho Shauryam, Aho Bahu Parakramaha, Narasimham Paramam Daivam, Aho Balam, Aho Balam. These are again the lines from the Bhakti lore in Telugu, even though it's written in Sanskritam. These lines are very popular. Basically, these were the exclamations that the Devatas were making when Narasimha Avatar burst forth from the pillar. Aho Balam means what a valor. So that exclamation of Aho Balam eventually became Aho Bilam in Telugu. Hence the name Aho Bilam. Ahobilam is located in the Nallamala hills of Andhra Pradesh, surrounded by thick forests, streams and rocky cliffs. It is a remote pilgrimage site, far from big cities, which gives it a unique character and almost untouched atmosphere. According to tradition, this is the very place where Lord Narasimha appeared to protect Prahlada and destroy Hiranyakashipu. And one of the most powerful and revered places in Ahobilam is Ugrasthambam. This is a tall cleft in the rocky hills, high above the forest, which tradition remembers as the very pillar from which Lord Narasimha burst forth to slay Hiranyakashipu. For obvious reasons, this may not be a man-made construction of sorts, but this place holds that significance as Ugrasthambam, which means the pillar from which Ugra Narasimha emerged. Reaching this place, Ugrasthambam in Ahobilam, is not easy. Pilgrims climb steep rocky paths through the Nallamala hills, and when they finally arrive, they just don't see a piece of nature. They are seeing a living relic of the Narasimha Avatar. That's how the belief is held very sacredly in Ahobilam. As I said, there are 9 different Narasimha Kshetras in and around Ahobilam in few meters to kilometers distance. Yoga Narasimha, Jwala Narasimha, Ugra Narasimha, Malola Narasimha, Krodha Narasimha, Karanja Narasimha, Bhargava Narasimha, Pavana Narasimha and Chatravata Narasimha. Each of these Narasimha Swamis, the deities and the shrines, have their own Sthala Puranas. For example, Bhargava Narasimha, it is associated with the Parasurama Avatar. It's the place where Parasurama worshipped Narasimha Swami. So like this, there is enormous amount of cultural and living memory about Narasimha Swami in and around the place of origin of Narasimha Avatar in Ahobilam. And this place is incredibly surrounded in the depths of Nallamala forest. And probably that is the reason it is so well guarded by the nature itself over eons of time. So yes, Ahobilam is very much the place of birth or origin of Narasimha. And then not just Ahobilam, Sri Varaha Narasimha Swami, Simhachalam, Vaidya Narasimha, Yadagiri Gutta, Lakshmi Narasimha, Penchalakona, Panakala Narasimha, Mangalagiri. Like this, the Swayambhu Kshetras of Narasimha Swami in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana is just unbelievable. You will not find anywhere else in any part of the world so much of worship of Narasimha Swami that you find in these two Telugu speaking states. One thing what I would like to say is, it is well known fact that the northern part of India bore the brunt of all the invasions, and thanks to that, and that's the reason these temples in south have been very intact. But then, If we don't know what is preserved in the south, then what's the point? How many non-Telugu speakers know really about this fact that 95% of Narasimha Swami Kshetras are located in the Telugu-speaking region? That's only because of Ahobilam, because that is fundamentally the place of origin of Narasimha Avatar. And eventually the Narasimha Aradhana has been very deep into the culture of the entire Telugu-speaking region.
Amazing.
But then, that does not mean that Narasimha Aradhana is nowhere else in India. It is just that it is lost. Let me give you some example to understand. One of the most fascinating and ancient forms of Vishnu's worship in India, from Bihar all the way till Afghanistan and beyond, is the iconography of Vaikuntha Vishnumurti. This is a unique depiction of Lord Sri Mahavishnu with the central face, which is flanked by two of his avatars, Narasimha on one side and Varaha on the other. Relics of this tradition dating back to nearly 2000 years or even before that have been discovered across the vast geography from Bihar to Kashmir to Nepal, Himachal Pradesh, Pakistan,
beautiful.
Afghanistan and even beyond that. In these sculptures, Narasimha Avatar was not seen in isolation but as an inseparable part of Sri Mahavishnu's cosmic form. For many centuries, this Vaikuntha tradition or Vaikuntha Vishnumurti tradition thrived across the northern and northwestern parts of the subcontinent. Unfortunately, much of it has been lost over last 1500 to 2000 years. Today, most of these icons lie in museums and the living tradition survives only in a handful of temples, such as in one of the remote part of the Himachal Pradesh. This shows us two things very clearly. First, how deeply Narasimha worship was once rooted across the length of India and beyond. And second, how much of that continuity is preserved today in the south. In fact, in the Telugu-speaking regions of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, Narasimha Aradhana remains vibrantly alive, carried forward in dozens upon dozens of temples. So while the north absorbed the blows of the history, and thanks to it, much of it was lost, unfortunately. It is the south that is the tradition where it is safeguarded, making Narasimha worship of these regions not just devotion but also living heritage. Not just Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, but Narasimha Swami worship is well rooted in parts of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu as well. In fact, the largest monolithic statue of Narasimha Swami, which is almost 22 feet height, is found in Hampi. It is actually Lakshmi Narasimha Swami. Unfortunately, the statue was vandalized in the Battle of Talikota, and the statue of Lakshmi Devi sitting on the left lap of Narasimha Swami is broken. All that's left is Narasimha Swami seated in yogic posture with his arms vandalized, and the statue of Ma Lakshmi on his left lap totally missing. It is the largest single stone representation of Narasimha Swami in the world, carved in 1528 CE, and one of the most iconic remnants of the Vijayanagara Empire. Let me close this video with the core philosophy of Narasimha Swami, which I learnt as a kid through this Telugu verse. Indu galadu andu ledanu sandehambu valadu chetkri sarvopagatundu endendu vetaki chusina andande galadu danavagrani vinte. Which means, every speck of this universe, every grain of dust, every element of nature, every corner of the cosmos is pervaded by the presence of Sri Mahavishnu. And that is precisely what Narasimha Avatar demonstrates. Hiranyakashipu sought to escape death by demanding countless conditions and exceptions. But Narasimha Swami showed up that no matter the rules or loopholes, when dharma must be protected, he can emerge from even the most ordinary object, a simple pillar, uphold truth and dharma. That is the essence of Narasimha Swami, the eternal protection of Vishnu, who resides in every inch of the creation in this nature and cosmos, in every breath of nature and in every fabric of cosmos itself. With that thought, I hope this video has given you a few new perspectives on this great Mahavatar Narsimha Swami. As always, thanks for watching.
Thank you, Project Shivoham. An amazing video with so many fun facts and background stories. I could not believe that Hampi was mentioned because, believe it or not, friends, before I reacted to the blockbuster trailer, I looked through some of my old stuff and came across this postcard. I hope it's sharp. Written by me to my grandparents in 2013. I wrote them that I was right there, this picture, crossing the river because I was staying at a teepee in Hampi. And At that time, I was on a Buddhist pilgrimage. I did retreat in Hampi in one of the caves. So I was not into Sanatana Dharma, I kind of include Buddhism in Sanatana Dharma. I was not into Hinduism. I had no idea who Narasimha was. I had no idea who Lord Krishna was. So I was not able to actually recognize anything important there. I will now, though. Maybe I'll be back one day. It would be wonderful. Especially that pillar. Whoa, that rock. Whoa. Imagine being there. Let me know if you've been there. I'm very curious. It looks amazing. Just the picture itself is just so very powerful. So the south of India was protected through the destruction of the north. So it all stayed in the north, and the south has been way more preserved. Also, another fun fact, I'm just going to say it. A picture of Narasimha was on here. I didn't have the merit for it to be still on there. But 2014 or so, 15, when I was working in the UK, I went to a Hare Krishna temple in Watford, near London. And you can see it's still called Hare Krishna. And the person who took me there, he said, always have this with you, Narasimha, the fierce one. And I was like, whoa, this is a really intense picture. I had no idea what it means. However, I've always been connected to lions because I'm a Leo. I grew up with lions all over because my mom, every time there was something with a lion, she bought it for me because I'm a Leo. I know Narasimha, the Lord, is not a lion. But, he has a lion face. So a little bit similar. That's why I was like, yeah, I want that. I don't know what it means, but I feel drawn to it, of course. So these are some fun facts about me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you once again to Project Shivoham. I'm going to keep this short. I'm not going to publish the whole video because they just released it. I don't want to take away their views. So please go and watch the full video with all the super interesting facts and ideas on their channel. Jai Narasimha, Jai Narasimha, Jai Narasimha.